What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Verbal Garbage, coming at you hot and live. Instead of the normal solo edition episode on the early weekdays, we got two special guests with us. My sister Jill, and you can surely hear that baby Mikey in the background. So, first of all, Jill, being my best friend, my biggest mentor and role model, want to thank you for coming on and tell the people a little bit about yourself. If you don't mind, you're new to motherhood, you're on maternity leave from work. If you don't mind, tell the listeners a little bit about yourself.
Well, hey, I'm Jill.
It's how I do my reintro. You gotta understand that.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I'm new to this. First and foremost, I'm Frank's older sister by 4 years, and I live in Richmond, Virginia.
Yeah, and you do a pretty cool job.
I'm a periodontist, so I own a practice, and that is a type of dentistry where we do gum surgery, bone surgery, just overall surgeries in the mouth.
Nasty shit.
Nasty shit.
If you don't mind, I know it's kind of a long journey, but tell the people how you got there. You went to two different schools before you went to dental school, correct?
High school.
Right, obviously.
Then I went to college for 4 years at University of Delaware. I majored in biology and Spanish and minored in Portuguese. And graduated from there. I took a year off and studied for the DAT, which is the dental admissions test. It's like a really long.
Was that to get the white coats?
No, that's just to get into dental school. So it's like this really long test that you have to study for and take. And the weirdest thing about it is something called the perceptual.
Oh, wait. If you guys caught that, we just got a live fart, shit, burp combo all in one. Let's fucking go.
Good job.
Back to the dats.
So yeah, the perceptual ability test was like the hardest part of the DAT because can we pause for just a second? No, you want it to be real?
No. Yeah, we're
all right.
You know what? Pause break, guys. Sorry.
Quick pause. We might have to pass off.
All right, and we're back after a little poopy break and a diaper change break and an invisible baby back. So we were just talking about the DATs, or her process, Jill's process to get into her field now. So that was after, let's just recap, after University of Delaware, you took a year off, and then you had to take the test just to get into dental school.
Yeah, so that, and then the hardest thing about that test, other than like basic, science and math, reading, that kind of stuff, is this thing called a perceptual ability test, because you're going to be working like in the mouth and orienting and shaping things.
Ugh.
So you have to like look at like a box that'll be unfolded and like laid out on a piece of paper. Like that's like the test it was on a computer screen, but like a 6-sided box would be unfolded and they would have to say like some are shaded, some are like patterned. When the box is folded, what side do you see?
What?
Kind of thing. So
all your years of Mario Party trained you for that.
Orient yourself. Yeah. Thank God for video games. Right?
Speaking of video games, quick detour. Do you remember the time that we, when we were young, for everybody out there, our mother was very anti-curse, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
We weren't allowed to curse. We weren't allowed to say, like, instead of fart, we had to say vapor and toot and putz. Yes. So we set up, me and my brother Kurt were just mad at Jill one time for no reason, trying to sabotage her.
Whole childhood.
So, whole childhood. She's right, 2 versus 1, being the only daughter out of the 3. So we were playing Mario Kart in her room back in the day, and she had a hamper with clothes in it.
Oh my God!
And me and my brother, the video cameras in our family were a big thing. Like my dad would have family vacations on tape, and me and my brother would like tape things.
No, but this all started because Dad bought himself a brand new Sony camcorder, and you and Kurt freaking took it to the elementary school and filmed a Jackass episode. You got one little scratch on this camera, and Dad was like, fuck it, bought himself a new one and gave it to you guys. So and that was a lethal weapon.
Daddy's new camera turned into a little recreational toy for me and Kurt. And what we did was we staged the hamper to where we'd have clothes underneath of it. Then we put our newfound camera in there and then put clothes on top of it. And we were just like sabotaging her in Mario Kart, making her just curse and success.
Making videos.
Remember that? We were just undercover just to try to get her in trouble. And 30 years later, who's laughing now? She's the one hosting me, living the gypsy lifestyle. So anyways, you got the DAT, you obviously passed that.
The DAT, they score you like 0 to 30, whatever. I applied to dental schools. Then
do you want to go far, or do you want to stay in the Northeast?
I wanted to stay on the East Coast.
Okay.
So I applied from like Connecticut down to Florida. I really wanted to go to Penn until I interviewed. So like the whole thing is you apply, then you get invited for an interview. Not everywhere invites you for an interview. So I got this interview at Penn, and I went, and like the students touring you were so miserable.
Oh,
They were
really?
like really unhappy seeming, and then they like took me downstairs into this area, and they're like, yeah, this is where the patient charts are. We call it the dungeon. It was like super, super hot,
Oh,
and I just did not get like the best vibe, but whatever. I was like, it's whatever, it's University of
yeah.
Pennsylvania, like it's a great school. Of course, I still want to go here. And then my last interview was like January, and that was at VCU, which is in Richmond,
Right.
Virginia. They call it VCU, but it is formerly MCV, the Medical College of Virginia. So down
Okay.
here, it's like a really big deal if you went to MCV.
But not anymore, because when you went, it was VCU. So
Well, it's
sorry.
it's still a big deal. There was like a whole thing when we graduated that like we got 2 diplomas, and one said VCU and one said MCV, because the people really
Participation trophies, am I right?
wanted they want that MCV status on there.
Yeah.
But of course, like everything for state funding, they ended up merging with VCU at some point. But my last interview was down here. Mom and I drove down,
I'm
and
trying to remember that. But
it was
yeah.
in January. But I went on the interview. The dean was like the nicest guy ever. All the students were like super happy and chill. They took us to lunch. Super funny, but the 2 girls that were on my interview day all 3 of us ended up getting in, and that was Erin and Allie, and we
Oh,
ended up
wow.
all living together. So we met each other on our interview.
Shout out to you girls, hope you're listening.
But yeah, it was just awesome. I got like such good vibes, and so then Mom and I drove back to New Jersey after the interview, and I emailed the dean and was like, I just really loved everything about it.
That's awesome.
I thought everyone was so happy and so pleasant, and I still had my heart set on like Penn, and then I got into VCU like a month later and lost my mind and was like, I love this place, I want to go here. Luckily Mike and I had only been dating a year, so I feel like if it was longer, I probably would have held on a little harder and wanted to like stay around, because I wouldn't have wanted to leave him, because dating a guy for a year, like making the decision to go long distance, is pretty rough. It's crazy
to look back now and see it was only a year then. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. So yeah, then we did 4 years of dental school. I did 4 years of dental school. Graduated.
That's common, and right when you get into after
DNTs,
it's always going to be 4 years, and you get awarded with, is it a blanket degree, or is it all different? Like when you get into dental school, is it all, what were you, DDS at first, or is that what you are now?
Yeah, DDS or DMD, Doctor of Dental Surgery or Doctor of Medical Dentistry. There's no difference clinically. Like the training is all the same. It's dependent on when the school was founded, whether you were a DDS or a DMD. But yeah, so I got.
And that went hand in hand with the white coat, right?
The white coat is like a ceremony. It's like a ceremony thing. It's not really like anything that's a big deal.
But that's after you get one of your.
You do that your second year of dental school, and it's like signifies your entrance into clinic and treating patients. That's why they do it. Okay. Because the first 2 years you're just like in class or working on mannequins. Like plastic teeth, and getting that kind of familiarity. Did
you enjoy like the mannequins, or did you always prefer like the real cadavers and all that?
The cadaver part was like cool, because you do that in your first year, where like you literally,
I'm literally getting pins in my stomach. No, but I asked. I want to know.
Yeah, we like had to dissect the whole body, everything, not just the mouth. So brain, lungs, all of it.
What's the thought process behind that? They pay a certain amount for a cadaver, and they just try to get.
No, you have to learn the whole body. Like all of our tests and board certifications and stuff have full system questions on it, not just.
We really got a genius on here, guys. We really hit the big time. It was going to be a solo episode, me talking about Aaron Carter and a girl getting kicked out of the University of Kentucky.
We can still talk about that.
We will. Don't worry. I've got Burning and Sick and Backstreet Boy questions. Anyways, so after you, I remember we were all shocked, because when Jill had graduated after going to VCU for 4 years, she was turning down 6-figure jobs right away, and someone like me, I was slinging paint at Sherwin-Williams at the time, and I just couldn't comprehend. Covering the earth one little pint at a time, guys. I did it. I was a foot soldier for the Lord. But yeah, we were all kind of shaking our heads just in disbelief, because she was already in so much debt from going to 4 years at University of Delaware. Then she had around 4 years of dental school, so that's 8 years of school right there. And you guys know we're not talking, light tuition here. This is big time.
Yeah.
So what was the thought process behind turning these jobs down right after you had just graduated with what you thought was the end goal?
So you get like a really good clinical education. You can graduate and start working on humans right away.
Just being fresh out of 4 years of dental school.
Out of 4 years of dental school. And VCU, that was another reason it was on my list, because you get a lot of, they do not accept a shit ton of students. Like there are some
Okay.
schools where there'll be like 400 people in a class. Ours was like 100 people in a class.
Wow.
And the benefit of that is you get a really good clinical education.
More hands-on, or what?
And more time with patients.
When you're saying clinical, is that just like
clinical
applying
is
to
like
real life?
in clinic, which is treating patients. So
Okay.
like one downside of another school that I have looked at was that you did not get to, like, your third and fourth year of school, you were not seeing patients 5 days a week because they had so many students and so many
Wow.
international students that were
So for all
coming
my
and training
MMA
there.
fans out there, guys, let me just draw a parallel. This is like, you know, these big fighters being in an overly concentrated gym where you're not getting as much hands-on solo time.
Yeah.
Whereas Jill's being in a program. I'm just trying to, you know, cater to different
Exactly.
audiences.
Yeah.
She's in a school where it's more focus on the students, or what do you call it that
Quality.
time?
Yeah, students. We were
Residents.
dental students.
Dental students getting more hands-on training and being more prepared for real life. That's
Yeah,
a pretty fair
exactly.
crossover. So yeah, I just
It's really expensive. Like dental education is super expensive as it is because it's not super profitable. So a lot of places will just take a higher class size because they can get more tuition out of them, and then therefore
Right.
their overhead costs are not as high. But it's expensive to train them because you have to pay these faculty people, you have to pay for all the materials. Treatment is much less. It's not free, but it's much less. So yeah, coming out of school, I probably would have been fine to just go start working right
But
away.
you did.
But I didn't.
But confirm that, like, you were
Oh,
getting good job offers
yes.
in a career in a field that you already
Yeah.
liked and thought you were
And
satisfied
like
with.
you
But
see this job offers and starting salaries, and you can obviously be like getting sticker shock and thinking like, oh, I got to take this job. Like
yeah,
this is awesome. But I did something called a general practice residency, which is a 1 year hospital based residency
North Philly, dog.
in Philly. Yep. Woohoo. At a level 1 trauma center called Einstein Medical Center. And the purpose of this is, yeah, I took a significant pay cut because I think like a resident salary is like $55,000 a year or something.
Wow.
But you get paid
Yeah.
still, and you have health insurance and all that kind of stuff, but you're working on not only hospital patients but hospital employees, so like
And you're being in
doctors,
that
nurses,
environment.
med students. So you get the experience during the day of doing regular dentistry, but then you're on call at nights and
Oh,
in a
I
place
remember
like
those
Philly,
days. Yeah.
level 1 trauma center, so getting a ton of crazy stuff, like whoever was on call on Sundays when there was an Eagles game, you were like, oh, it's going to be a rough night because people are coming in getting pistol whipped and breaking
Yep.
their jaws, and we had to treat
Eating
that.
horse shit after the Eagles win a Super Bowl. It all happens.
Yeah.
And just so everyone knows, during this time, it was, we were in New Jersey. My brother and my mom had lived in Florida for about a year and a half now, I believe, and it was me, Jill, Mike, who was her boyfriend, now her husband, and her baby daddy, and my dad all living in a house
And Hank.
together. And then she had a black lab, Hank. So
Yeah.
we've been in this for the long haul, and let's just get back to it. What was the main
So the
crux?
purpose of this was the amount of money you probably take in a pay cut you would have to pay in continuing education that year to just even get up to the skill set
Sure.
of being able
Hands-on
to like
real life.
yeah.
Yep.
And just like practice management things, which is like dealing with the business side of things. So you learn a little of that, but also we got like a taste of doing some surgeries at this hospital-based residency. And also you get a lot of experience with like hospital patients, like really freaking sick people. Like in the dental school, we could only treat, like if someone came in and like we had an attending, if their blood pressure normal is 120/80, if their blood pressure was like 140/80, we had one attending that would send the patient home. Like you and I could be sitting here and we could be 140/80 because we're getting excited and talking.
I see
like,
that Peloton
not a
right
big
there.
deal.
My heart rate's going up. Yep.
Exactly. So it's a much more realistic, and it definitely prepares you for like these medical emergencies that do happen.
Right.
So that, and just also like just the experience and continuing education kind of thing was much more appealing to me and made me feel like it's an umbrella of like protection where you're still learning and you have people overseeing you, but you're a lot more self-sufficient and like getting faster. Like dental school or patient appointments, like we would have 3 hours to do one filling. That's insane. You can't do that in real life. You have to be able to do a filling in like 30 minutes.
I was gonna say that's way less.
Yeah, that's insane. Like if you imagine if you went to the dentist and you had one little filling and it took 3 hours, like you would pull your hair out.
Yeah. Don't have any hair to pull out for everyone.
Beard hair.
Can't do that either.
Yeah.
So was being in the residency program, did that like make you realize that?
That's what made me realize that I didn't love general dentistry. General dentistry,
the field you're already
which
ready
is
to be in.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's kind of like fillings, crowns, veneers, day-to-day stuff. That's what most people, they see a general dentist, but I really liked surgery kind of things and much more like overall medically compromised patients, people who are sicker, dealing
Yeah.
with that, but also like people who need bigger mouth surgeries and things that, like you said, are nasty and gross, but that I liked a lot more. So
Ugh.
I got closer with some of the attendings there that were surgeons, and they convinced me like you should apply to
Just because you
perio.
kind of let them know about your thoughts, that you
Yeah, I
weren't
was
really
like,
digging it.
like I wasn't really excited on days when I was doing a filling, but I was super excited on days when I was like doing a dental implant, that kind of thing.
So another reason that residency, and shout out, I'm pretty sure Brian Lembo, right? Wasn't he doing a residency?
Yes, but not at the same hospital.
But I'm saying he's still doing one.
Oh yeah,
Because
medicine
I'm just trying
is
to.
different. You don't have a choice.
Oh, you have to.
Medicine,
See, I don't know anything
yeah.
about this
So
field.
medicine.
Sorry, Brian.
No, Brian's a savage.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's amazing. Him and Dana both. They're
So, but I'm just saying, like,
yeah.
whether it's mandated or not, I feel like it's such a huge benefit because not only
It
do you get
should
the
be
hands like
mandated for dentistry.
the hands-on training in real life, but
Yeah.
you get to be able to pick other people's brains that are
Yes.
in the same field but not quite.
For sure.
And that's what you.
Yep.
I mean.
Yeah. So then at that point, I started applying to periodontics, which is what I'm
gum and mouth
doing
surgery.
now. Yep. The difference is, unlike dental school where like you apply and it's this like big computerized thing, at the time periodontics, it was still like on a gentleman's agreement type of acceptance where you apply, you interview, and you get in, and it's an entire year before you start. So I had talked to a bunch of the surgery attendings and also one general dentist who is like now a really, really popular guy in the dentist world because he does podcasts and runs CE and like
get him on.
Yeah, he's pretty amazing. So shout out to Paul Goodman. But Paul. He knew and encouraged me to apply to surgery, and then knew that it would be a whole year before I would start. So that is who I went to work for.
Wow.
So I worked as a general dentist at his office, and it was great because I got to.
That was the place in New Jersey.
Yep, Pennington, New Jersey. So I got to work as a general dentist, get paid well for a year, get treated really, really well because he's amazing, and there was no awkward goodbye because he encouraged me to go specialize. So he was like, okay, we know that you're leaving in June and this is easy. So June, I finished. Mike's a teacher, so he gave notice and quit his job, and we moved here to Richmond. And then perio is a 3-year residency.
Okay, and then you were doing that at VCU as
That's at VCU. So I went back to VCU. I applied.
Is that like a graduate program, or what's that considered? Yeah.
Technically considered graduate, even though like dental school is also considered graduate school.
Double grad.
But I applied to programs on the East Coast and also Texas because VCU and Texas at San Antonio are like the #1 programs, and they kind of go back and forth every year for my specialty.
Okay.
And it's like probably because all of the guys who run the program were all trained in Texas, and they're all Army or military,
Is it a
Air Force kind of thing.
Pickings with perio as far as schools? There's not a lot. Like it's much more limited.
There's a decent amount of programs, but not as many as dental schools.
Yeah.
And there's also not like programs that aren't
Come on, guys. So Genius can't get a word out. Let's
affiliated.
Go. That's staying in.
Genius does like she has a baby who's 13 days old. Affiliated with dental schools. So there can be like a perio program that's at a VA hospital. So there's no dental school that is there, but they're at a VA hospital. But yeah, so went for perio up and down the East Coast. Mike and I both, when I was applying, this was a little, I guess, easier because I did really well in dental school and I did well in the GPR, general practice residency. So my like class rank and GPA were really high that I could
tell the listeners what the GPA was.
No. I finished my 4th year with a 4.0.
Amazing.
So it was good to go out on a high note. Amazing. Of course.
That's incredible.
But you do real my train of thought.
4.0 my ass.
Yeah, seriously, 2.0 more than.
Well, if you can't think of the next one.
I wanted to like go
up and down the East Coast.
Up and down the East Coast, but we decided we liked Richmond the most, and it was a harder, I guess, acceptance process because like a bunch of people apply, but there's only 3 people that they accept. So it was me and 2 guys in my class.
Wow.
And then that's also like a different program. Like you're not sitting in classes all day your first year. You just get thrown right into it. We also have like lit seminars because perio is a very
for the younger kids, it's not like lit, like cool,
like
right?
Cool literature.
Yes, just want to clarify.
Yes.
We got some young millennials.
Yes, free millennials. So it's very research based.
Yep.
So we had to spend a lot of time reading research articles from the 40s, 1940s,
Yawn.
all the way to current. Yeah, exactly.
What kind
Yawn.
of tools were you using in the 1940s compared to what they're using now? Like, were they just using like a
They
metal?
did not wear gloves, so
Ugh.
that's like the first and foremost yuck. But not really that different set of tools.
What was like the main
Similar.
procedure back then? They just like get pliers
They
and
would
rip
like
teeth out.
like if people had really bad gum disease, they
And
would
how did
just
they
like
know that, though?
cut the gums away. They would still measure. Like they had the probes, which are the tiny little measurement tools that we use to check the
Holy
gums.
shit.
But also it was mostly back then like taking teeth out and giving people dentures.
Now, if you were born 40 years before you were, do you think it's possible you still would have grown up with the same
No, I
love and
probably would have
passion
been
for
a
dentistry?
housewife. Come on.
Okay, well, if the gender roles were reversed, do you think that, and you know what I mean, though, like
I know what you
having, being fit, I don't know, that was kind of a crazy question. I was just like trying to think if you're, now I'm trying to think like who would want to do that back
Who
in
would
those
wanna do
days when
that?
it was
Yeah.
such limited supplies and such hands-on with,
Yeah. I mean, there was like always like a joke going around, at least when I was in college and applying to dental school, like, oh, you're just doing that because you aren't smart enough to get into medical school, which I could see.
Maybe.
But it's different. Like it's a much more concentrated, focal,
Yeah.
specialized kind of area.
Weird.
Weird. I know it's gross, like mouths freak you out,
no, it's just
spit and
not for
stuff
everyone.
like that. But
How did you, now you're at a point now where you're bought into a practice with what, 2 other people?
one.
And now how did that come about? You got a job offer to work there, and then
Yeah, so residency's 3 years. You're in clinic, meaning you're treating patients, doing surgery every day. Similar to dental school, like when you first start, you have 3 hours to do a surgery. Like you've graduated from 3 hours to do a
Yep.
filling to like 30 minutes to do a
full-on
filling.
surgery.
Then you have 3 hours to do a surgery, which now they take me like 30 minutes to an hour to do.
And the more efficient you can be, the more money you can make, right? The more appointments you can
100%,
book, and the
yeah.
more appointments you can turn.
Yeah, so we have attendings, and these are people who are some that are strictly affiliated with the school, like who are employed by the school, and then some who are private practice.
Oh, so they like subcontract them to you guys?
Basically, people who graduated from the program and work in private practice, and they want to give back by coming back to teach and like oversee the residents.
Wow.
So that was how I met Dr. Coggers, who I bought out.
Yeah.
She was an attending one Thursday a month, and when I first started, I really got along with her. I thought she was awesome. Also, we didn't have a ton of female attendings because it's still like a very male dominated specialty. So I looked up to like the ladies, of course.
Sure.
And then she just, I thought was really awesome. They at the time had someone that it was her and her partner Benita, who were both in their 60s at the time, and Claire they had someone who was working with them who decided that she didn't want to stay here and she wanted to move to Florida. She was a little older.
Wow.
Her husband was retiring from the fire department, so they moved to Venice in
Mhm.
Florida. And they needed someone to come join. So Claire called me like the end of my second year, asked if I wanted to join their practice, which I love Richmond, but it's so saturated. So I didn't think I had a chance of like
saturated. There's just tons of dental offices. There's so many.
Yeah. It's like
this is such a popular school for what you're doing, and then you stay right in
like
here.
when you're right near a
I didn't
school
think of
and
that.
it's a city and
As
it's
opposed
really
to if you
populated.
went here and then moved down to Florida, so you probably have your pick of the litter to be able to open.
Be able to open
You know what
or
I mean? It's
join
a little
because
bit
it's
more
not as concentrated. It's more spread out.
And you'd probably be able to make a really
and
big
there's
name
like
for
a
yourself
really
quickly.
busy suburb.
Shut up over there.
The dog.
Our little dog scratching the door. Mommy just can't get a break.
Can't.
This is Mommy's night out for everyone who doesn't know. She's just had her baby like 13 days ago, and this is my selfish way. But hey, can we hang out and let me put you on camera while you're, fresh off whatever she was doing with the baby? But here we are. So that kind of leads.
So she called. Oh
no, go.
Is that what the segue is?
No, I was. Oh, you didn't really finish.
She called. I loved her. I loved her partner Benita, and I joined. So I graduated 2020, which was wild to be out of school during a pandemic. That was fucking nuts. Luckily, at that point, like it was the end of my third year, so I was super fast and efficient at surgery.
Right.
The only thing I had left to do is the program does include a master's degree, so I had to do like research. Like my research project was on rats.
Ugh.
So I had to do.
Speaking of rats, have you heard about that new study that I just talked about?
No.
They experimented. I told you the other day, you just didn't get it yet. They were experimenting on mice first, and they found that picking your nose could lead to enhanced chance of Alzheimer. Now, you've seen your brother in the trenches digging for gold. Tell me, do you think I can survive this new
Yes.
study that we're hearing about?
I think you can.
Now, how relatable when they're doing these early tests on mice/rats? Do they usually come to fruition on humans? Or I'm grasping for straws here.
Grasping at straws
I
here.
pick my nose nonstop.
It's different, I'm sure. So like there was a
It's
study,
not.
there was a World Health Organization study that came out. This will be relevant to you. That showed that people who constantly are touching their eyes are more
Yeah.
likely to get sick because you're constantly just putting, no matter how clean your hands are, you're constantly like putting germs
Yeah.
on this huge mucous membrane into your body. So like direct access.
Put down there.
Just let him in. So I could see that being similar to the mucous membrane inside your nose, and you have bacteria on your hands,
Yeah.
but they're not using a rat finger and sticking it up. Just let the little rat in,
Keep going.
and not sticking it up their nose. They're probably
Get
taking.
your fucking ass.
Honey. They're probably taking like a swab of already nasty bacteria and sticking it up their nose to introduce it to like direct access to the brain. So I wouldn't like freak out about
Okay.
that.
For all those you didn't listen to my most recent solo episode, I talked about a study that was just published on
Like,
Alzheimer's potentially being linked to people who pick their nose, and it's kind of alarming how much I talk about picking noses on this podcast. Besides the days, that could be just number 2 most popular topic. So
favorite pastime.
this is why we're trying to get intellects on like this to try to stray away from these topics. So we've kind of covered the dentistry side. Now I would love to talk about the baby side of things. Now you just gave birth a week ago now. If you don't mind,
first 2 babies.
and these, we got the 2 dogs in here sniffing all over, going crazy. We got a yellow lab and a black lab named Hank, yellow lab named Murphy. Maybe they'll go out in a minute. They just need to be constrained so they stop crying. So yeah, like just talk to me about the baby. Now you obviously are in your career. You've got a lot of responsibility being your practice. Half the burden's on you. Mike's a teacher. What was the planning process? Did you guys know a certain age or time frame you want to have your first kid, or
Good
what was
question.
that? What was that like?
So Mike and I started. Well, you know, he was like my first boyfriend
Yep.
in 5th grade.
Yeah.
So we went to the same elementary school, but we did
She
not.
dabbled around the pond, and boy, were
Yeah.
there some stinkers.
Yes. So we did not date all throughout that time. Just a brief stint in 1999 of hand holding.
Side note, hold on. All right, just we don't. This is not a confirmed boyfriend, and this does not implicate Jill by any means because this is nothing to do with her. But I remember one time, me and my let's call him my cousin, were outside, you know, sharing a little bit of the devil's lettuce, and Jill just comes home with some random dude. It wasn't like, I think it was just a friend, but we're gonna call him a boyfriend for the sake of the podcast. And we're all out back smoking, and then Jill wasn't smoking. It was just me, my cousin, and this guy. And we gave him a hit. He didn't really get much, and then like he took another one. He took a hit, and he's like, that was the home run. So just to give you an idea of what we were dealing with here. That's a real 100% story. Cousin, back it up.
I don't even remember this.
Yes.
So please tell me the name after this is over. Yeah.
Can't remember, but he's all right.
Okay. Not Mike.
Definitely not. Mike's style is takes the bong hit and then goes upstairs and passes out.
My goodness.
So, Mike is my friend in Florida. What was the planning? Like I said.
So yeah, we started dating like a month after we both graduated from college.
Wow.
And
reunion tour.
Yeah. So then we weren't sure like if anything was gonna last because I moved away to Virginia for dental school and he was teaching in a school in New Jersey. So we were long distance for 4 years. Then when we were, I guess, more confident that we were gonna last, we got Hank.
Yep.
We moved in with you guys while I was in residency.
And you guys know what that's like. When a couple gets a dog together, that's kind
more
of it.
Serious than an engagement ring.
That's really commitment right there. So
so we
shout out
Hank.
to Kurt and Eva, just rescued a dog. You're in it forever, all right?
Yep, you are. You're stuck. So then we got Hank and we were thinking, I was getting job offers after that GPR and I was interviewing, but I decided to go back to school for perio. At that time, Mike said, do you want to get married or do you want to go to residency? We can't afford to do both, which was a very smart move.
Sorry, but there is a couple on Love is Blind, Raven and SK. They are getting engaged, they're getting married, they met through pods, and he's going back to school. Continue.
Yeah. So maybe we could have, but I did not think that was a wise decision.
You also didn't meet in a pod on Netflix, so.
True. I don't know what pods are.
It's those little, like, it's literally like a pod. When you get like the storage, they sit in those and they divide them and then they talk through a wall. This is the kind of TV show I watch, everybody.
Frank's biggest bone to pick with me is that I don't watch reality television.
And that she used to buy her chicken from Walmart. The floor is yours.
One fucking time.
It was not. It was in Florida, and then I came here and I saw the label. now we've changed our ways, and
I
I
only
just
shop at
care.
Whole Foods.
I
It's
care
fine.
because my
I was
friend,
poor.
shout out to Jeremy, one of my buddies in Florida. He had really bad gut issues for years, and we traced it back, and we think Walmart chicken was the culprit. So,
GMO.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
whatever.
The
Went back
baby.
to school, residency, and then we said, okay, we've now been together for like over 10 years. By the time residency was coming to a close, I think it was like 10 or 11 years. And we decided that we were pretty well into our 30s, like 30, not well into, but you know.
Shout
30,
out to all the 31-year-olds that are
32.
single with no prospects. Yep.
You're fine. 31, 32. And so we decided, like, okay, like, let's get married. Let's have kids quickly. When we were in our 20s, I think we both used to say we wanted 5 kids. And now it's like, we're never going to have time to get 5 kids in.
Yeah.
So 3
5.
would be awesome if we could manage that. But we got engaged in 2020. We got married in 2021.
Such an amazing wedding. Yeah.
So much fun. And then we delayed our honeymoon because we got married around Labor Day, and Mike did not want to miss like the first week back at school with all the kids. And it was easier for me when I closed the office between Christmas and New Year's and when he's off to take our honeymoon later. So we decided like, okay, we'll delay our honeymoon, do that like between Christmas and New Year's. And then after that, we'll start trying to have kids.
Beautiful.
And luckily, Mikey was really easy. So that happened right away.
Now, the process of like I'm a little ignorant on this. Now, I don't think you were like naturally able to go into labor. They had to induce you, correct?
Yeah.
Was that like a bummer, or was that?
It was a little bit of a bummer.
Yeah.
Like I really wanted to, but I was a week late.
Yeah.
I started having like contractions on my own on Sunday,
Okay.
but they were really mild.
Fly, Eagles, fly.
Yep. It must have been that game.
Yeah.
Thank God, undefeated. Just getting you riled up. But I started having some contractions, but I was doing all the shit. Like they tell you to eat dates.
This bitch was just like fucking squatting on a medicine ball. I'm sitting here watching the Eagles game. Like, can you go in another room?
Bouncing on a birthing ball, walking 5 miles a day, doing squats. I was doing some other random exercise video in my room to help induce labor. I was drinking this tea that has like,
you know, this when you just said
it.
you do an exercise video in your room, it reminds me back in the day when this movie Napoleon Dynamite came out. Our sweet little brother Kurt used to stand in our parents' bedroom and practice. Like he would put the video on and just stand in front of a mirror, watch himself doing the dance. Do you remember? Yeah. So he did that, and I remember me and my friend Maddie. He was one of my best friends growing up, still to this day, and he peeked the door open in my parents' room. We saw Kurt in all his glory rehearsing the dance. So
unbelievable.
Jill was channeling that energy 20 years later to have a baby. Continue on the baby
so
talk.
At that time, I started having some contractions Sunday, Monday, but they had already scheduled me to get admitted on Tuesday at 4. So I showed up at the hospital. They admitted me, and then basically like give you drugs to help your uterus start having contractions, which is fine. Like I wanted the baby to come out at some point anyways, and it might have been another few days. So the good thing about being induced is that it was the day that my doctor was there. That's why that was scheduled. Okay. So otherwise it would have just been a different person, which would have been fine. But it was nice to have my doctor who I've been seeing for that amount of time there.
Comfort level.
Yeah, to be the person that does it. The difference is the drugs that they give you are way strong. It's a synthetic version of what your body produces to make you go into labor. So they're way stronger and more intense contractions. So
that'll be it.
Sometimes can be a longer process. And for me, that was not the case. And it was very fast and furious. And we almost missed the window of getting an epidural because I took classes. I was trying to do it without any drugs. And it was just way too much, which they warned me it would be with the drug version instead of the natural version. And I almost missed the window because they said it
How about those Phillies, huh? Crazy World Series apparent. Now, I'm sorry. Jill knows how I am. I'm a little squeamish and queasy, and I try to ask some of these questions, but, you know, I'd much rather talk about Aaron Carter, to be honest. No, I'm just kidding.
Let's go.
Tell us your thoughts. Backstreet Boys are in sync. Who was your go-to? I know Aaron wasn't directly in, but he had a close relation to Nick Carter, former Backstreet Boys. So.
Tough question. I was, like, hard on BSB for a long time, but I feel like as I got older, I got more into NSYNC.
It seemed to age a little bit better, and I have no shame in admitting.
But you know, I had those CDs. I would rip those books out. We had study the lyrics on that boombox.
Kurt and I had the posters in our room, and I remember Eric Scogan like came to our house and was like, "What the fuck? You got these fags on your door for?" I'm like, "Hey, man."
It hits.
Yeah, exactly. And like, if I could go back to this day, I'd be like, "Bro, look at you. Look how bad that statement aged." And you know, sad news, obviously, if you guys follow the news, they just found Aaron Carter yesterday or the day before in a bathtub drowning. if nothing else, I'd like to make light of everything. But you saw his brother make a post about how they had a lot of fallings out and everything like that. So I hate to say it and get serious here, but if you're having any kind of issues with your family, I mean, sort that shit out. It's not worth it. You see that.
Never go to bed angry.
Yeah, his brother, exactly. Like, I'm all about watching funny things before you go to bed. Even if you're having a dispute with someone, put on an episode of Seinfeld or something. My parents or other people get caught, watching the news or filling yourself up with negative thoughts before bed. And I mean, I'm sure you could deal with that or speak on that. You're dealing with people's problems all day. The last thing you want to do at home is continue to observe other people's problems.
No. I get my news from my husband. He reads and watches and then filters it for me because I can't.
And our dad, for everyone who doesn't know, we have the ultimate Fox News dad. If he could be like a playable video game character, like today, and I'm not scared to get a little bit. I made a comment to my mom about, Trump was going bad on DeSantis and blah blah blah, and then my dad just sat there and didn't make a comment. I'm telling my mom, I was like, he is the most diehard Mr. Trump guy that he's like, fuck you, Frank, Trump all the way, baby. So, it's just. It really kind of hurt my heart to see that. It wasn't a funny thing for me at all. But when you read his brother, talking about the tough times they went through and they were ever able to really resolve it. Just someone who has 4 siblings and extremely close to all of them, I think that's
what I mean.
Really
don't go to bed angry.
Yeah.
Like the TV stuff that you watch, whatever, that can affect you. But like, even in hello, when you live with someone, you can bicker easily. But like, just lighten it up, have an easy conversation before bed. Try to watch something funny to take your mind off it, or just do something. Because I don't know. That's like our mantra in this household. Like, never have we ever spent a night in like separate beds because we were pissed off or got into a fight. You see us, like, we both have strong opinions and we can.
And they're
bicker.
both so passive aggressive. It's disgusting.
But we can. Our version of like communicating. You used to say like Jill and Mike fight all the time, but we don't fight all the time. We speak our minds.
Yeah, and it's easy for someone like me to be. I've been so closely involved with a relationship for so long, and so easy to be. Like the person on the side spectating and analyzing what you think. Like, it's the fucking reality TV, I tell you. I sit there and think I'm like some dating expert. Yeah. So, no, she's totally right. And, it's just a sad thing to see. But a couple other current events and then we'll let you go. I don't know if everyone.
This is my reality news, so thank you.
This is true. A lot of you guys that aren't around the Philadelphia area probably aren't aware of this, but I can pull it up on my phone real quick if anyone cares. But there was a gentleman a while back that stated how he wanted to do 40 days in a row of eating a rotisserie chicken.
The chicken man.
And it wasn't really a big deal, right? And I'm on Twitter here and there, and I'm shout out to Verbal Garbage Pod. Give me a follow. It's just a guy. Now I gotta try to talk while I'm doing it. Fuck, it's so hard to do that.
That's okay.
Rotisserie man.
We can talk about the fact that there's a song by the band and then covered by Bruce Springsteen. Do you know this?
About Phil Testa?
They killed the Chicken Man in Philly last night, and it's just hilarious that the Chicken Man is located in Philly. And the challenge, which like Frank told me because I had no idea this was going on, the challenge was he's gonna eat a rotisserie chicken every day for 40 freaking days. Why? I'm not really sure.
Well, I'm gonna pull up the article right here. Shout out, it's on today.com, an article by Drew Weisholtz. Now, this bastard, Alexander Tominski, 31 years old. You're my age, Alex. I shot you a message on Twitter trying to get you on the podcast to tell your story. You blew me off. Anyways, he's a restaurant server, and we both got restaurant back. What are we doing here, Alex? He's a restaurant server in Philadelphia and recently completed an unusual feat in which he ate an entire rotisserie chicken for 40 consecutive days. Now, the reason this went so viral.
Anything else?
No, it was literally just rotisserie. I don't know.
Breakfast, lunch, dinner.
Should have done some.
No,
if I should have gotten my
we would get some better information.
And I would love to pick your brain, Alex. So I'm not going to give up.
I can see like a guy who like your age that works out a lot. You could eat a whole rotisserie chicken for dinner.
The problem here is this guy was already on like Philadelphia Talk News the next day, so he's probably getting a little too big for his britches now, and sees a little old verbal garbage with 20 listeners and wants to blow me out. But anyways, it really got steam because on November 6th they were at a Philly pier behind a Walmart. It was like an abandoned pier, and the turnout that this guy got was just unbelievable. And it's not really much of a current event for the world, but I just thought it was kind of interesting. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that. You kind of just did, and
I mean, yeah, those are my thoughts. Like rotisserie chicken's good.
Do you add seasoning or sauce?
No, it can be like a little greasy
and a little dry.
And sometimes. So I don't think it's like some major health feat. Like do Whole30 for a month.
No. Sticking with the chicken, I have another interesting segue. Did you ever eat the Tyson chicken back in your days?
I'm sure at some point we were fed that.
And you get the honey barbecue, you get variations. Nowadays, I would never even sniff a bag of that. But you remember
Wait,
just
like the
the
frozen?
big red Tyson bag of chicken.
Got it.
Well,
No,
guys,
I did not.
unfortunately, Mr. Tyson was caught up in a little bit of a debacle the other night.
Oh.
Tyson Foods CFO arrested, allegedly fell asleep in the wrong home. Okay.
What?
First of all, you have all this fucking money, dude. Hire a driver, go get drunk as you want, and then have him drop you off at home. So there's the mugshot for some context. We got a nice, young, very. I mean, he's not a bad looking guy, right?
But how are you the CFO of Tyson Chicken? You're so young.
It doesn't look like he has arms, and he looks like he's wearing some shoulder pads.
It looks like a straitjacket.
Yes.
So he might be out of control. Like he's on some kind of drugs.
From your hospital days, did you ever have someone fall asleep?
I was just about to say.
In someone's house, and what is the extraction method for that?
Didn't know about that. Because that never occurred to us, or that never happened by the time they got to us. But
okay.
People would be on, like, I heard about all the new drugs coming out by being in the emergency room down there. You would get people that literally, why are you crying now?
Who's
get
crying?
Out, Murphy.
Can we talk about Tyson Chicken for 1 minute?
Yeah, it's not all about you, lab. There would be like people that would come in and it would be like, oh, they're on, K2 or whatever, like the new fad drug was.
I've done it.
And you've seen like those lunch lady kind of hats.
Oh yeah.
Like people wearing like ORs at times. They would put them over people's faces and restrain their arms because they would like spit at you and try to bite you.
Do you remember the phase when Kurt and I would just spit on people when we would get angry? Fake spit. We would just be like, and just start fake spitting at people. Yep, another one of our phases.
Good one.
So this little bastard, he's 32 years old. I'm 31. Like, can we just switch spots? If I were a fucking Tyson Air, you think I'd be pulling this kind of shit?
No.
Maybe the problem is they have so much money. But maybe, it's also something you hear about sometimes. Someone like him grew up with so much money, he didn't have any incentive to ever work and really be disciplined.
Yeah.
So now he gets all this money, and some poor woman in somewhere in Arkansas, Fayetteville, she walks into a room at 2 a.m. She's got a fucking funky Tyson Chicken man sleeping under bed.
Gross.
So for all the listeners out there, I am not looking to get sponsored by Tyson, so let's all boycott Tyson together for irresponsible drinking. And 2 more, is that cool with you?
Yeah, I have nothing to do. I don't hear a baby.
All right, the last one we're gonna save is Sophia Rosling. I don't even need to look up this article at this point because I've done so much Twitter deep diving. But it's this 20-year-old blonde rich white girl at Kentucky. All right, let me hold it.
University of.
We have a new barbecue Karen making the airwaves, guys. Her new nickname is Barbecue Karen. She pretty much called the cops because she got food from a barbecue truck and it was too pink, so she called the cops.
Smoke ring is a thing.
Smoke ring is a thing. We can ask Mike all about it. Let's just get down to the crux of this. I'm trying to find. All right, here we go.
You said you didn't need to read the article.
This was for Sophia, the little white racist bitch.
Wait, who's Barbecue Karen, not Sophia?
No, Sophia is the little racist girl in Kentucky. We're gonna get to that. Don't worry. Yeah, sometimes I should have these things. Like the problem is room Wi-Fi here. This fucking room sucks. There's Wi-Fi here so bad, so I tried to pull up articles the other day and I couldn't. So now I'm resorting to do it on my phone. It's just such a mess. Okay, Barbecue Karen called the cops because the meat was too red. Great story.
Call the police. Oh my god.
What did I say?
I didn't know.
Oh, that's what I said at the beginning.
Oh,
shit. Yeah. So I want to know what the cops said. All right, can you just talk about some of the favorite things that Mike has smoked you, or some of the meats you've had smoked over the last week? Just to give me a chance.
Sure. Okay. I'm just laughing at the dog grunting. We've got a Traeger in May. And the stipulation was Mike's a teacher, and this was the first summer he was not going to work over the summer. So if we bought the Traeger, that he was going to cook dinner, and he surely led up to that promise, or is that what I'm trying to say? Yeah, kept the promise.
Yep.
And he cooked us dinner every single night the entire summer, and it was pretty amazing. He has become a master at smoking things on there. He will say it's not just him. The Traeger makes it too foolproof and easy, but
yeah.
It does.
I mean, it's definitely some patience and some skill required as well.
His barbecue pulled pork is probably number one.
It's insane.
It's amazing, and he does a really good job on that. For one of the people in my office for her birthday, he started one at midnight or 10 p.m. or midnight and smoked it all through the night, and then brought lunch for the whole office, which was awesome.
Amazing.
The funniest thing was at the time we were still, we're having people wear masks when they came in the door because we were following CDC guidelines. And he walked in, and the woman at the front desk was like, "Who are you?" And he was so pissed.
Oh, because he provided all that.
is he the one providing all the food? And so you see a guy walking in with like trays of barbecue, but also like my wife owns the office, her name's on the door, and you ask who are you? So he was pissed.
Just being ungrateful, you know. When someone makes you food, make sure you look them in the eyes and thank them. Not that hard.
She's 70, so we'll give her a little break on that.
Okay.
Little break.
Fair enough.
Yeah. But he's done salmon. We've done like scallops, like brown butter scallops in a cast iron skillet on the smoker. That's come out really, really good.
Yeah.
Desserts have been good. Did you get your article yet?
So I'll do a little background for the listeners. I'm gonna let Jill watch this video on the side. Rewind it as you see fit. This is just a little glimpse into the video, just to see how appalling this girl is. If you can turn it down, just so I can explain. So for those of you who don't know, over the weekend there was this individual named Sophia Rosing or Rossing. Goes to the University of Kentucky. She got really drunk, I guess, on Saturday night going into Sunday morning. And, you know, there's a girl, an African-American girl doing her job, working a desk at some rec spot or something. And this little entitled pompous bitch pretty much proceeds to go on and start assaulting this one girl, and proceeds to call her the N-word followed by bitch, like nonstop, literally nonstop. She's doing this for, I can't tell you how long.
First of all, she's wearing a disgusting like pleather mini skirt that is hiked up so high that her whole vagina is basically out.
Now, would Freddie take a ride? Yes, he would, but that's besides the point. She's
I
cute,
guess,
but
she's a psychopath.
How much does character matter? You know, Love is Blind. If me and her were across from each other in the pods.
Let's talk about the character of the black girl who is keeping it totally cool after being physically and verbally assaulted.
And what we're not seeing here, guys, is I said,
oh my God,
this pathetic girl is throwing punches. She grabs a shopping cart at one point, tries to run her over. No, I get this gets me pretty worked up because what you don't see is pretty much two cops respond to the scene. She continues to say the N-word nonstop. This girl's friend comes in. I can't tell you how many times she says the N-word. And then two or three of her friends on social, because I was on a rabbit, like I was refreshing Twitter every couple minutes looking for this because I was enthralled with the story. Two of her friends made posts sticking up for her and defending, saying she's mentally ill and you don't know what's going on. But then another video surfaced when she was saying something to some guy a year before about how she's got so much money and she doesn't need to do anything and blah, blah, blah. So, you know, just the entitlement, you know, I'm not very,
disgusting.
It's just white privilege. I mean, it really gives, I hate saying white people a bad name, but like to see someone like this acting like this, and some people might say, oh, she's drunk. Yeah, I've drank before. Drinking doesn't just make you say the N-word when you're like, you have some deep-rooted hate in your heart that, now, my guess, I don't know if you agree with this, she's from a very, I was raised by a dad who was growing up in the 40s. He's got a little bit of those old racial thoughts and tendencies in his blood, but that's just how he was, you know, and me and my siblings, I don't think we have any of that in us, but maybe I do. I'm not going to deny it because you're raising it. You might have been exposed. I don't know. But anyways, I think this girl's from a very affluent, white, plantation type family, and you can see that the way she reacted and acted. So I would encourage everyone to go just Google Sophia Rosing. She was at Kentucky. She get kicked out. I think she's going to withdraw right now, and she had an internship with Dillard's. They already fired her like the next morning. Yeah. So
of course toxic. She was majoring in fashion.
Exactly. But and look at the outfit. I mean, just toxic. I don't know what your thoughts on that, but there's another article that I read that kind of went hand in hand with this. There's this little blonde-haired bitch saying that she was too pretty to work and she'll never have to do a 60-hour work week in her life. And I just kind of wanted to get your thoughts as a scholar and intellect on this new generation of like TikTokers and influencers and personalities where they can get
like Gen Z.
Maybe the app gen. Like there's so many gens now. But these kids that, you know, it's not their fault. They're raised with the cell phone in their hand from an early age. But now you got this whole new generation of someone going on Instagram and saying, I use this body wash.
Yeah. And that's
go try it. And that's how they make a living. And I'm not trying to be shallow here, but these girls got to realize there's a shelf life to this.
Yeah.
When you're 20 and your boobs are busting and everyone's on to you, great. Yeah. What's going to happen in 10 years from now when these millionaires are 10 years older, got 10 more millions of dollars, and you're 10 years older?
Yeah.
You know, so I just kind of want to pick your brain on the sustainability of that and what you think of these new app Gen Z or influencer types.
Kind of a bummer.
I mean, you see it like, and now you go on Instagram, like I can literally go on Instagram and I follow very few like pages like that, but you go and you just scroll and the reels are just hot chicks just folding their clothes. Like,
I hate it.
do you have goals? And then like sparkle. It's like, what are we doing here?
It's so funny too with like all those targeted ads, because like when we were getting married and I was wedding planning, like all of my ads were that kind of thing. And now I don't see any of that because all of my ads are like how to get your newborn to sleep.
But I'm like, you can understand how this could kind of play a negative role in some of these younger girls. And
well, yeah,
I mean,
because there's like 10, 12-year-olds on social media, so they're going to think they don't have to work. They can just do Instagram.
And let's be honest, like some of these girls that are doing this are like, they look fake because of how ridiculously gorgeous they are. It's like some of them are fake, some of them are natural, but it's like you get to this point where this new younger generation, I have nieces and nephews at their age, and you're just constantly feeling the need to compare yourself to other people because of the way it is. And you know, you wake up right away, you see a girl putting her boobs in front of the camera, getting tens and 15,000s of likes.
Let's do my morning makeup. Yeah, it's crazy.
Let's do it. And you know, you got people paying hundreds of thousands of dollars or $100 for
get me started
Kim
on, like,
Kardashian.
That OnlyFans bullshit
Well,
too.
hey,
that's even a bigger problem.
To me, that's a problem, but you know, you get a cute UFC fighter, you know, a girl that's getting paid in the UFC very little, then she wants to go strut her talents on OnlyFans and make a few bucks.
Good for her.
Do I subscribe? No, but do I support it? Of course I do. So yeah, it's something we're so foreign to, just the way we grew up.
When I got into college, that Facebook was just getting started, and you couldn't get on Facebook. The whole point of it,
college, right?
You couldn't get onto it until you got enrolled, and they gave you your .edu email.
Yeah,
that was the only people that could get on. Was if you were in college, and then you told them what school you were at, so you didn't see people at other schools right away. You just were like finding people that you met at parties.
So you were one of the first people to land on the moon with the Facebook then.
Yeah, like
you were early.
It was like when I found out my roommate's name and we both got our email addresses, we found each other on Facebook. But it was like the early days.
And boy, did we do some judging on her Halloween costumes, guys. That was all you had back then. You know, you would scout someone, you say, "Oh, this is," but I think that was so cool and like organic.
Yeah.
You know, and it almost. What are your thoughts on that? Does it make it more exciting or less exciting when you already know what the person looks like, but then you got to try to guess their personality to match your looks, or would you try to guess the looks and guess the personality?
I don't know.
You know what I mean?
That's maybe more exciting. I don't know.
That's kind of an interesting thought. Now I'm
just
thinking
wild, but like
fresh.
social media wasn't a thing. Like Facebook wasn't considered social media at that time. Facebook was like, oh, I'm in college and I gotta find out who that person was that I hung out with at that party last weekend or something like that. And so then Instagram was like becoming a thing. Instagram was after Twitter.
I just started using Twitter like a year ago, and
so
my God, do I love it.
Yeah, Instagram for me at least was after Twitter. Like we graduated college, and my girlfriend Kelly was really big on Twitter and made me get a Twitter account, and I could not get into it.
Now, why? Like to me, I'm such a huge fan of like football, MMA, podcasts, all this bullshit. Twitter to me, like. You can refresh Twitter and you get like I'm a huge sports fan.
You love it for that, yeah.
Sports fan, like you get all the highlights, all that right away. I'm curious as to why you weren't.
But in like 2010, when I graduated college, I don't know if there was so much of that like instant thing. Maybe there was, but like the people I was with, it was like, oh, my sorority sisters. Like every Monday night, we went to the sorority house and watched The Bachelor or The Bachelorette.
Why couldn't I have been in that sorority? Goddamn it!
So that was like the Monday night thing. Was like a ton of girls. Yeah. Drinking wine and watching, honestly, like it was a huge.
Did you guys ever do like fucking like brackets, like like guess like who would invent? Oh my God!
So there was a lot of like that was like people were live tweeting, watching The Bachelor, like this girl's a slob kind of thing, and it was.
He's not here for the right reasons. I can smell it a mile away. Yeah. See, Jenny, you gotta come on. Like I want to do recaps of like certain like Love Is Blind.
I did watch reality TV back then.
She's really lost her touch, guys. Now I just sit here and like watch it on my iPad because I'm too embarrassed to put on the big TV. I just get judgment looks from her and her husband all the time. I would like Love Is Blind. Don't even let me get started on my dad. When he sees me watching these shows, he literally just wants to just sit back and smell it on him.
Shows.
Oh, of course, but you can't sniff out the good and the authentic ones on the reality cooking.
It's hard.
Not much longer, but I'm just curious, like, what your thoughts were on growing up with Kurt and I.
The best.
Me being a big. Now we got to bring up one story.
We have to bring up a lot.
There is a frequent guest on the podcast who goes by the name of Sharif. Sharif is also of African American descent.
He's the best.
There was a time back in the day when, sorry, but we're airing out our dirty laundry.
What the hell are you about?
All right, never mind. Cut. I'm not gonna do it to you.
You're gonna have to like improve this.
No, yeah, you're right. There were a few times where Kurt and I were really cruel. with our unusual punishment. I was trying to make a little thing there, but I couldn't do it.
You guys were pretty good with your cruel punishment.
Specifically, there was one time when Jill had a bunch of her friends over, and they were all sitting by to paint the picture. We had a big family room. We had a couch on the left side and a couch in the back.
On any given day, but
yes,
Mom moved the furniture
my mom moved
every
them,
week.
And God knows how many of Kurt's lone individual socks were under each one with the fucking ice cream spoon in between it.
And the remote from 3 years ago that we've had.
The box, as my parents used to call it. We didn't call remotes clickers or anything. We called them box. Where's the box? What the fuck?
I forgot about that.
Anyways, so she was sitting on the rug with 6 or 7 of her friends, and if any of you guys watched WWF back in the day, there was the Hardy Brothers, and they did the poetry in motion move where I ran up, for those of you guys who just listened,
squat down.
I would squat down on all fours, get in the downward dog,
on his back,
and my brother
and frog leap off and belly into whatever.
Running, and to this day, Jill is still walking with a limp due to that knee injury she suffered that day. I'm just kind of curious what it was like growing up. Obviously, we have 2 older sisters.
Yeah.
But when we were raised, it was all, we're all within 4 years of each other. What was it like having the ratio being 2 to 1 by your brothers? And what was that like? Me and Kurt were 18 months apart. Me and you were a little bit further. So
yeah, I'm 4 years older than you and 6 years older than Kurt. And it was constant torture until I went to college. But it was the best kind of torture looking back on it now. When you were born, I was obviously, I was obsessed with, we open doors now.
Fucking dogs.
I was obsessed with babies and playing with baby dolls. And so Mom always tells me the story of when you got out of your bassinet and put into a crib in your own room. My room was it was when they sold the house, the room that I was in at the time was my room when I was really little, that master bedroom. And you were across from it, which was the office at the time. And there was I was literally 4.5, maybe just turned 4, and you were 6 months old. And Mom tells the story of one night, I guess you were whining and they did not wake up or hear you in time. And I took you out of your crib and carried you down the hall and brought you to Mom.
She dropped me. That's why I'm retarded.
He's crying and you didn't hear him. And she was like, you mom shamed me at 4 years old.
Mom's playing.
You were my baby. So that was fine. Because literally you were my little doll. And I just carried you and held you all the time. Then Kurt was born and all hell broke loose. Yeah. And then you guys were old enough to torture and torment me.
But it's funny because there were times when I was a sophomore, junior, and senior year of high school, me and Kurt did not have a very good relationship with Joe.
No.
We were.
By the time you were in middle school and I was in high school, it was so ugly.
Can I just bring up one little story real quick that I had an episode with Sharif and then I couldn't air it because of some things we said, but we brought up this story.
Okay.
So you probably never got to her chance. So can I shut the door?
Yeah, the baby's crying.
Sorry, the baby is absolutely lunging.
Poor Mike.
Mike, we only got a few more minutes left. You'll appreciate this episode when it's aired. So, guys, I'm not going to implicate any names other than myself here. I'm a bad boy and I did some bad things. Sharif was just there as a spectator. So, this was a summer day. Me and about 7 of my friends and my cousin. We were doing a healthy dose of mushrooms, okay? We come home.
I did not know you did this in high school.
I know, but this gets worse for you, better for me. No, just so pretty much, we're all going through the day. We're having our crazy peaks and valleys. Everything's going on. Jill proceeds to come home from probably working, waiting tables and lifeguarding in between, and then going and pumping a VCR into a baby, pumping CPR into a baby, trying to save his life. Just all the successful. What's the word?
Not successful. I was just really busy.
Ambitious things that she was doing while her brother was sitting home eating just fungus. So she comes home, she sees us all just acting all whacked out, gets very upset. I guess, I don't know if you called Mom that moment, but you called her at some point because I remember this whole thing happening.
I ratted you out all the time.
I don't care, but I want you to be shamed right now what you said, the lie you said. So, I'm sorry. My friend Sharif was there. He was one of 8 guys. He was the only one who happened to be of African American descent. We know you're not a racist.
I'm not.
But you did call our parents and say, Kurt and Frank just threw us down the stairs and a crowd of black people were chanting them on. This is 100% real.
Sharif, you were a crowd of one, and I'm sorry.
No, and he brought it. He's like, I know, what the fuck? Because we brought it up and we had a whole talk, and I was like, trust me, it was just, I don't know if you were just really upset because maybe you knew that we were I was on drugs and you just didn't want that, or you were being protective.
I used to get really upset when you guys were really high.
But I just remember, and then pretty much my sister Jenny intervened. She was threatening to call the cops on me to get because me and my brother of the stuff we were doing, Jill, which, I mean, truth be told, we didn't touch her, we didn't do anything to her, but she told our parents that we threw her down the stairs while a crowd of black people were chanting. I mean, this is like it's a scene out of a movie. Like,
oh my god. I'm so sorry.
No, it's fun. Like these are the stories I live for.
This
so
is hilarious.
Just to go with that.
It, so it clearly was not true.
It's a good time. Yeah, obviously. I just make things up here. You're here to validate me because
I don't remember I was gonna say that. So clearly it never happened.
You know, we would take trips up to our grandparents' house in the Poconos. It'd be about an hour and 30-minute drive. For the duration of the ride, you know, Jill would be trying to read or do like nail polish or something brain stimulating. And me and my brother would just take like
got car sick.
Me and Kurt would just take like bottles of Windex. Like one would have a bottle of Windex, the other would have our hand-me-down video camera. And we would just be like, it's the car ride home. And then we would just videotape ourselves just like spraying Jill with Windex or like throwing food at her and just
throwing food at the back of my head from the
going through a tunnel where it would get dark and then like slapping her in the head. Just the worst stuff you can imagine.
And then
so
it would quickly pan to the car next to us and be like, he's picking his nose.
Alzheimer's. But yeah, no, we would just the littlest things like I feel bad for all these kids and stuff that grow up as an only child because you really go through.
Or that grow up attached to cell phones because you don't get any of this organic torture.
Like, and granted, we had a piece of electronic, the video camera, but like, and the whole car ride would just be my dad driving, being his typical alpha self, just like looking in the mirror with his like really scary eyes, and then like the signature move would be like, no.
One hand on the steering wheel and the other hand swatting at somebody in the back.
The invisible SWAT, or my mom's signature move. She'd be in the passenger seat, and she would put her left hand on the driver's seat and just arch her neck like a little owl. And we would just be so like the whole ride would just be me and Kurt literally just getting a reaction of our dad. Like, I don't know if you remember the one time back in the glory days when my dad used to drive really fast. Unfortunately, not so much anymore. But like Kurt and I would just sit there with the video camera, just taping the speedometer.
So bad.
And like, oh my god, he's going through an easy pass. It's 40 miles.
So bad.
So I don't know. I mean, there's just so many like crazy stories. I don't know if anyone sticks out to you. If you can remember anything about me, I don't care if it's embarrassing, if it's not embarrassing, funny, not. Is there anything that like sticks out? Because I've taken up plenty of your time.
No, I mean, I just feel bad because clearly someone needs to eat.
All right. Well, the baby's crying. No, this is great. Hopefully this will.
You stopped doing the likes and dislikes, and I thought that was like a little highlight. So
see, now I'm trying to kind of transition into like current events.
Okay, which you did.
Yeah, but
just for me,
please, every week, like
now
give
that
me
you've
criticisms.
Been stuck with me for 3 weeks.
Okay.
Post hurricane, let me hear some likes and dislikes of your time in Virginia.
Okay. The dislikes are definitely going to be.
I just saw you look at the airbed, so clearly that's dislike.
Dislike is going to be something that's completely out of Jill's control. As you can see, I
turned our
MTV crib. I'm
third
sitting
guest
here.
room into a nursery, and now he's here.
It's the company that matters. Like I was telling my mom today, I could be sleeping on a floor in someone's basement or something. I'm lucky enough to have a sister that's giving me shelter. So, having said that, her air mattress fucking sucks. I don't know where she bought this thing from. Maybe it was like her chicken and she bought it from Walmart. I don't know. I'm just kidding.
Amazon.
I'm just kidding. She got her fucking rewards points. That's all she cared about.
I have a much worse one in the attic, so I did buy that new one specially for you.
No, the dislike is easy just to say the air mattress because I'm not getting great sleep, but that's who gives. I mean, you're here, you're happy, you're healthy, you're with family. The like is just the overall.
Also being displaced.
No. The like is having access to a Peloton, so somewhat being able to stay in shape. I've noticed maybe a little bit more of the left than the right, but a little bit of man boob sprouting. So I can't wait to get back to jiu-jitsu. No, she likes to pump false hope into us sometimes, and it's dangerous, but it's helpful. Yeah, the hosting overall, it's been incredible. You always make us feel welcome. You never feel like I'm a burden. If I want to eat something, if I want leftovers, you're always offering. Kurt, I hope you're listening. I hope you can learn a thing or two from her because you weren't giving us the best vibes, and you know, I've never been nothing but good to you, and I love my family, and I just want to feel like I'm welcome during the time of need. So, looking forward to our weekend. We're going to be golfing. We're going to be watching UFC. It should be a good way to get started. But yeah, just the way you guys make me feel at home here. The weather's been amazing. Pretty much me and my mom are waking up every morning, taking her dogs for a walk, so she doesn't have to worry about that. This yellow one right here is a fucking look at him. He is a pain in the ass to walk, but he's cute as hell. He just has a lot of energy. Yeah, likes and dislikes. Like as you all know, the podcast is something I'm just doing for fun. I'm trying to get more of like a structure, and I brought the laptop. Like one of the last things I packed up before leaving because I hate my laptop. I was like, "Fuck it, I'm just gonna leave it behind." But I'm so glad I did it because I'm able to get a couple of these episodes out. It's like therapeutic for me at this point. I've had multiple like Snap-on guys reaching out to me saying, "Hey, I've been listening to your podcast. That's how I figured out what's going." Like that to me is fucking
That's
awesome. You know
awesome.
what I mean? Just to have people feeling like they care about you. Wow, I just realized I didn't even have the light on the whole time. To feel like people were caring about you enough. Fuck, man.
Oh,
All right,
man.
starting over. A new episode starting right now. No, so
I was wondering why it was so
yeah,
dark.
no, I just hopefully you'll do this again over Zoom in the future
Yeah.
because I wanted to get like I'm trying to get all like my brother Kurt still has not been on here yet, which is just hilarious. But I just want to thank you, my best friend. Love you so
you.
much. This was so much fun, and I'm releasing it today instead of my solo episode. So hopefully I covered all the current events. Thank you all for listening.
Thanks for having
Another
me.
guest episode on Friday, and make sure you, Jill, what's your Instagram so the listeners can give you a follow?
J Beitz.
J Beitz, JBEITZ. Thank you all for listening. Good night. Love you all. Verbal Garbage out. It's the worst because my mouse never works.